Bleav in the Arizona Cardinals. It is the Arizona Cardinals centric specific show where, of course, we talk about the Arizona Cardinals here in the Phoenix metropolitan area. I am one of your co-hosts. I am Javon J. Love Adams. And with me, as always, is the man, the engine, the man that makes this show run. He played professional baseball, but also played in the National Football League as well on that first Super Bowl bound team for the Atlanta Falcons. None other than Ed Easy Smith. What is good, my brother?
Hey, last final preseason weekend, man, and then we're moving on to the regular season in about a week and a half.
Man,
Yeah.
I guess you could say since we're officially media, I guess you could kind of say that, right? So there are certain storylines that you like to see. I mean, for you, for example, you love drama, you love conflict, you love anything messy. I've learned that about you over the course of the last few years. I try to take it, I try to get in where I fit in with some different type of angle. And Isaiah Simmons has been a gentleman that's been the subject of conversation many times, both when we're on our radio show and also here on Bleav in the Arizona Cardinals. We've been talking about, is he misused? What position should he best play? We talked about going from a prospect to a suspect. Now he is somebody else's suspect because he has been traded. Yesterday, he was traded. I mean, it was a lot of moves yesterday from the Arizona Cardinals that we'll get into, so we'll talk about that. Also, the acquisition of a new quarterback, what that means to the team, and an offensive lineman being ushered out, and then these final preseason depth charts. So let's get to Isaiah Simmons first. Surprised?
No, I'm not going to say I saw it coming up. The surprise for me is that they did it, so I won't say quickly.
Yeah.
There's one more week of the preseason. I guess the Giants were nipping, and my assumption is the Cardinals saw the writing on the wall for them. He wasn't a fit, and rather than go into the season and show that he wasn't in their plans, which would have devalued him, his stock.
Yeah.
They thought, hey, let's sell high, because nobody has really seen. You can't. As bad as he played in the preseason, he still could have, in my opinion, been a fit here. Right. They could have figured out. He could have been their piece that they, okay, Isaiah's not working at safety, but let's make you second safety. Let's make you second edge rusher. Let's make you second. And they could have just started him, put him in different places, and figured it out. And maybe he would have, as he figured that out mentally, maybe he would have, got a little better on the field. But, they figured, I'm assuming they figured, hey, he's not in our initial plans. We're not losing. What I'm, man, a first-round pick, number
Speak
8
on it.
overall pick.
Speak on it. I know where you're going. Go ahead.
7th-round pick.
Say it one more time. A what rounder?
Not just a first-round pick, but a number 8 overall. Yeah, this wasn't one in the back of the first round. Man. He was the 8th overall pick, and not 6-7 years ago. 4 years ago? No, 2018?
Yeah, let me.
No, 2019, I think. Whichever it was.
2020.
Okay, even worse, 2020.
Yeah.
And you get a 7th-round pick for him? I mean, that's not an even trade. Man. So he really wasn't in their plans. And the thing that sticks out to me even more, he wasn't getting it. Whatever it was, he wasn't getting it on and off the field. It was something just wasn't right. And I will say this. What's that old saying? Another man's trash. One man's trash is another man's treasure.
Yeah.
The Giants, they see something in him. They're getting him for nothing. Mm-hmm. This talent, this might be an instance where we misused him for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And, he's drafted high expectations. We're going to use him in every different way. The Giants might be thinking, hey, we got a spot for this dude over here. And all we got to do is free his mind up. And this might be one of those situations. Yeah, we were young in high school, Jay. That girl that everybody, you hung out with her. Hey, you got what you want to get out of her. And all of a sudden, and the summer came, right? And she went away. And all of a sudden, she grew a couple inches. Pimples and stuff went away.
Shut up, man.
And all of a sudden, and she got her hair did. And all
Oh
of a sudden she
man.
started wearing makeup. She came back that following year, and everybody was like, "Whoa,
Yeah.
hey, what happened to?" And she blossomed, bruh.
Yeah.
And this might be an instance where he goes away and he blossoms somewhere else. Now, here's the kicker: is Austin Ford and Gannon, they did not draft him, so it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't like they had anything invested in him. He was a free piece. It didn't work out. No big deal. But I do feel he is going, in my opinion, if they treat him right over there in New York, not throw too much at him, let him go out there and be an athlete with all that ability, I think he's not going to be a bust, in my opinion. He's just going to flourish somewhere else. It just wasn't here.
I think it comes down to, and this is where Jay's being Jay, it comes down to something called locus of control, meaning so he can blossom. It just depends upon what his locus of control is. So I'll give you like the definition of it. A psychological concept that refers to how strongly people believe they have control over the situations and experiences that affect their lives. So again, psychological concept that refers to how strongly people believe they have control over the situations and experiences of your life. So you can be internally, you can have an internal locus of control. So you believe I control all that stuff. I got it. It's me. I'll fix it. Or you're external locus of control, meaning, man, I can't, it's other people are deciding for me. So I don't have any, what does it matter? I can't do anything. So if he has that internal locus of control, or if he hasn't had it before, now if he has it, then you go out and say, all right, you look at it as an opportunity. Now I get a clean slate. Yes, there might be check marks in my past, maybe because I haven't caught on to things when they tried to. That's all right. This gives me an opportunity to show what I can do, not to prove it to the Cardinals, but to prove it to myself because I know what I can do. You like that, right?
You are deep, bro.
You like that, right?
And just to reflect real quick, we've done a lot of different things over this year. Would Isaiah Simmons not be the perfect candidate for one Miss Deborah Dupree?
Oh,
You
yes,
like that, right?
indeed.
See, to refocus,
Yes.
and we'll have to have her on our show.
Yeah, we have to have her on the
on the national
radio.
show.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
because this would be a perfect instance for her to get a hand on this young man and
Yeah.
get his mind. And for anybody who's listened to our show over the years, if you have not, you probably have seen Deborah stop in and her philosophy and everything. He would be a perfect candidate. I'm actually going to reach out to her just to talk to her and figure out a time to get with her.
Yeah, that's what's up. So Bleav in the Arizona Cardinals. So that's one trade. There was another trade that went on. So the Cardinals, I guess they don't have any quarterbacks because they traded for one. They traded for Joshua Dobbs. So from they went to Cleveland. They traded. I have to look at if you have the details up in front of you in terms of what they traded and what they got back. But they got Joshua Dobbs, QB. The question that comes to mind is, does that mean Colt McCoy is on his way out? That's the first, or does that mean David Bleav is gone too? Because he hasn't really seen much playing time, if any at all, during the preseason. And we know that Tune has been getting a whole lot of run. And when McCown has been on, when McCoy has been on the field, is that he has a series or two, and so not a whole lot because he's a veteran, so you should expect that he could pick up the offense. But Tune being a rookie, he's been getting a whole lot of run. What, if anything, did that was the first thing that came to mind. Of course, that means they're not going to carry out. Then, of course, there's Kyler Murray, but somebody's on the way out, and I'm thinking it's McCoy, because I'm thinking they're just going to try to, let's just be as bad as we can be, whatever, we're going to do what we do, and let's keep this thing moving in that way.
It all depends on the message and the goal that this team has this year. Okay. Are we trying to be competitive? If you're trying to be competitive, you send the old veteran out there, even though he's limited. He's been a backup his entire career for the most part. Yeah, his ceiling, his floor as well.
I remember Joshua Dobbs. I think he was majoring in rockets. He was in he was trying to be a rocket scientist, if I'm not mistaken, when he came out. And it's supposed to be a really smart dude.
Think about it. This dude last year over in Tennessee, they had Malik Willis, right? And they were trying to they did get into the playoffs, or they were trying to get into the playoffs, and they had Malik Willis there after Tannehill went down. And instead of going to Willis, they brought Dobbs in, and he played for them, and he put in an effort. And you got to remember, that's where Ossenfort came from.
Yeah, so I think Petzing had worked with Dobbs before as well.
Could have, yeah. So they know his talent. They know he's not, top tier talent, but they're familiar with him. You can't put tuning. You can't put that young man out there. You really can't do it. He's a fifth round pick. He's putting in a good effort. Yeah. He's putting in a good effort to be a backup and hopefully have a good career as a backup in this league. That dude, if you put him out there, you talking about deer in the headlights, bro. Yeah. He would be chum. He wouldn't even be, they take that stuff and scoop it out and throw it into the water to attract the sharks. That's what he would be. He'd be chum, bro. Yeah. So you can't do that to him. Bleav. Yeah, you can't do that either. In my opinion, and here's the thing: you brought Dobbs in here. I'm not sure how familiar he is with Petson's offense. You've only got a week and a half or two before you get this thing kicked off. So he might be a dude you bring in to see how bad it is to start off with Coy. Coy gets his walking papers around week 3 or 4. Mm-hmm. Then you turn it over to Dobbs and just say, hey, let's just do this thing. We'll give you a chance, and that is the sign that, hey, we are going to be really bad, and we just want everybody to know. And then starts the speculation of as bad as, and you and I, we're going to be talking about our Eastern Conference, our picks for the season, and the Cardinals with that 4.5 game over under, they're going to be close to that. And that means somewhere near, and they got 2 first round picks. So what are they going to do with those 2 first round picks? This might be a setup for and then the other thing, Jay, you look what they're doing. They're trading every asset what little asset we, might have. Yeah. They're basically saying, hey, teams, you want something? Come over here and just offer us a draft pick. 7th round, 9th round. They don't have 9th rounds, but if maybe we can figure out a way. There's some type of compensatory out there. They're just saying, hey, come get it.
Yeah. Then it really becomes what you do with those picks, and I guess that's a conversation for a later time, because it's one thing to say I got all these picks. You got to make the right picks. You got to hit on a majority of those picks as well. So that's
well, the job when you have here's the other thing though. When you have a bunch of picks, you can have a bunch of good and bad though too. Yeah. Yeah. So the more you have, the more you can hit, the more you can miss too, but the more you can hit. And they're looking for those. They're obviously looking. Somebody's got an eye for like those later round picks, because they're not getting 1st and 2nd round picks. They're getting late round picks. So they obviously have a plan, and they pretty much just said, "Hey, doors open. Come on, get it if you want it."
All right. So Bleav in the Arizona Cardinals. So they kept doing, and another move that they made, they traded offensive lineman Josh Jones to the Texans for a 5th round pick. So along your lines, and I think Josh Jones has been on the team since drafted in 2020, if I'm not mistaken. So I mean, making moves, trying to acquire draft capital to be able to move and do other things. But it was just a flurry of moves yesterday. It was just interesting to see that.
Yeah, this is unusual because we don't see this often in football. You don't get a lot of trading.
You might see one trade from the team.
And obviously what happens most of the time, because these rosters are at 90 right now, or close to 90, and they've moved to where instead of going cut down to 53, now it's just a massive cut down to 53. Yeah. So shortly there's going to be over 1,000 plus players on the market. And that's normally what happens at this time, where it's not trades. It's, we know these teams are going to be cutting stuff loose. As soon as they do, let's just go and start picking at the waiver wire, that type of thing. And offered, for free agency, stuff like that. So the Cardinals are being smart, in my opinion, and we're open for business and picking up these picks, because if they don't have a plan for you, the other alternative is to cut you, and then teams get something for free. So they're actually working smarter, not harder, where they're getting picks, and then they can turn those picks into something else moving forward. And that's the beauty of it all. We don't plan for them maybe not to keep all these picks, but they can package them up and do certain things with them to get other players, or even maneuver higher in the drafts. You put a couple of these 5s and 7s and 3s and stuff like that, you can work out a 2nd round pick, 1st round pick, whatever it is. So that's what they're kind of doing. And like I said, I think it's a good move, because they know they're going to stink. They know they are going to, let me say it one more time, but they know they're going to stink face this year. There is no way around it. There's in that building, they're trying to, hey, we go out here, we work hard, we can prove we can win. There ain't nothing out there this year. So
is it safe because with the tone I hear in your voice is that you're okay with these moves. Like you're impressed with Austin Fort making these moves. Would that be safe to say?
I am. You got to have a plan. The worst thing, Jay, is to be in the middle. Well, we'll go out and get some free agents, and you get second tier free agents, and we expect we're going to be a bomb in the draft, and all of a sudden now we're going to be this great team. Nah, here's the thing, Jay. If you're going to strip it down.
Right.
Don't do it halfway. If you're going to do a home renovation, don't just pick, well, hey, we'll just do the kitchen. Nah, you want this house to be $1 million home, bruh, down to the studs. Wow. And then what you do is, and obviously it's a risk because you got to have the funds to do all this. You got the materials. You got to have the right person putting it all back together. But if you can figure out a way, obviously it starts with the culture inside, which I think they've done a good job of. Mm-hmm. You start getting the right players in you. The worst thing you do is keep the wrong dudes around. If you have philosophy in it, if they just don't fit, like I said, you strip it down and you start to build it back up little by little. The bad part is fans are going to have to understand this is going to be rough. This is not going to be, a 8-9 win season. This is a 3 or 4 win season. And, I know there's certain people already every week I'm going to be hearing, oh my God, they stink it up. I'm like, that's what they're doing. You know what I'm talking about too. There are people every week going to be talking about, and it's going to be bad. I'm just letting everybody know it's going to be bad. But the goal is to get better. And it doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen next year. It might be next year might be the biggest move they make. Ooh. You never know.
That's true.
And we'll really be hearing it then. So I like it because they're grasping their identity.
Okay.
And they're saying, hey, hold tight. We're going to try to do this the right way. It's not going to be easy early, but we're heading in the right direction. Right direction for me, Jay, will be as they play these games and you see dudes flying around, even though they don't have the talent out there, but they're doing things the right way. They're getting beat the right way. It's not stinking just because they're horrible, not just athletically, but, the plan looks bad. If they can start, just looking better, that's the first step.
All right. So Bleav in the Arizona Cardinals. So leave me with this. Just want to look at some of the depth chart. The final depth chart. This came out a little bit earlier in the week, if I'm not mistaken. So things change in terms of came out a couple days ago. So I know there've been some changes in terms of with the trades that went on. But when I'm looking at the depth chart for quarterback, again, let's go back to that. So we know Kyler Murray's on PUP, so he doesn't necessarily have to count because he can't. They'll need to make a roster spot for him once he's ready or cleared to play. So they have Colt McCoy, Clayton Tune, David Bell, and Jeff Driscoll. If they hold 3 quarterbacks. And now they have Joshua Dobbs. So he's got to be, he's one of those. He's got to be one of them because otherwise it makes no sense. Who else do you think is going to be kept in that quarterback room?
I think you spent a 5th round pick on Tune last year. I think it's Tune. I think it's Colt McCoy because you got to have a veteran on this roster to help these young dudes.
Okay.
There's absolutely. Could you imagine going into the season with Tune, Dobbs, and Bleav? That is, you got to have. I don't care if you got to keep Colt just to be in the room, if nothing else, to help these young dudes along the way. So he, in my opinion, is no brainer. Tune, and because you brought Dobbs in, and the other thing is, Jay, nowadays you can't protect anybody on the practice squad. So you try to hide somebody on practice squad like a Dobbs, you'll lose them in a minute when somebody wants a good quality backup or whatever. So I think McCoy, Tune, Dobbs, the other Bleav and Driscoll will be looking for it.
All right, and that has to be you, Driscoll. You're not making the squad. You weren't making the squad, and so there's just you're dead man walking all the time. I would imagine that is an odd feeling. when you just know, and you're hoping that maybe the way in which you carry yourself and the professionalism that you show that word will spread if somebody asks about you. You say, come see about me. And if that it can bode well for you.
Well, if you're keeping it real with yourself, which is the whole thing, you know you're slot on the, you always hope that you can climb up the ladder, but and I'll be honest with you, there's some guys, depending on their talent level, they know the limits of where they'll be in this league.
Yeah.
And just to be on a team, to be honest with you, even if it's during the summer and through training camp, that's a badge of honor. People don't realize even how hard that is.
That's
really
true, because a lot of people will say you're a failure because you didn't make whatever, blah blah blah. But man, come on now, the journey of how many to be filtered down to this, and I might not be in the final sifting of the wheat, but my goodness,
bro, to say you were on even just a team during the summer think about how many football players are in college right now, in high school coming up. Have graduated and playing these semi-pro leagues or whatever it is. Now all these other leagues, XFL, Canadian League, blah blah blah. I've had, how many times I've had somebody tell me, "Yeah, I play pro ball." Who do you play with? The Peoria Musketeers. I'm like, oh, okay, pro ball. Yeah. So to be in camp is no small feat, and to make it to this point. I've been cut before. There's a whole lot of people who were sitting home on their couch when I was, getting my work in. And, I got my few years in, I'm vested. And that, bro, you talking about being proud of that. The number of people that I know that, did it for a much longer time than I did. And so there's no shame in being the last guy on the roster and getting cut or, it hurts. I'm not gonna say that. And sometimes at some point you have to figure out, okay, is this for me or do I have to go find that other thing? That'll be in a few days, the 29th. A lot of guys will be trying to figure out if this is for me or do I need to go find a real gig or something else to tide me over. While I wait to see if the phone rings.
Man, good Lord, yeah, you told me that story. We got to share that story. The story about the phone call, yeah. Send me chills. Now going back to just a couple other position groups, I'm just curious about. So the running back room, Keontae Ingram's going to be on this team, right? I mean, he's been getting a lot of run in the preseason games. He seems to be impressive to me. Hits the hole well, and somebody like casual Earl Burnett would definitely probably he would most likely be very fond of Ingram, but he makes the team, right?
You would think, and with running backs, you want to keep at least 4, one on your practice squad, and then running backs, depending on what they're doing, special teams. We always forget about special teams, bro. Got a lot of guys make teams just because they are special teams guys. Right. They could be a 3rd or 4th on the.
They even had Isaiah Simmons running with the special teamers on a play or two last week, and they're probably thinking, man, it just can't work, man. We just.
Oh yeah, as a starter, when you're playing if you're playing special teams, yeah, those dudes do not like the high end guys. When they see their name on the 2 line, they're like, what? Get me off the house, come on, because that means extra work.
Yes.
And they don't like that. The guys that call themselves the starters or prima donnas, even at their, they're some guys at the 2 in their position. They don't like to be out there on special teams. So, but you got to find those guys, and that's how a lot of guys make the teams, especially your athletic guys, which are your tight ends or running backs, D-backs and stuff like that. Those guys have to do double duty. So regardless, but yeah, that running back room, you'll get 4, I think, at a minimum.
And then lastly, so just looking at the offensive line, so just at the left tackle, since Josh Jones is gone, we got DJ Humphries that's there on the left tackle. Then we got Jackson Barton, but I think it's going to be with the rookie Paris Johnson, that while they have him slated at right tackle, that with this trade, maybe that means that they'll try to put him in some different positions to maybe get him even more solidified with what they hope will be ultimately that left tackle spot. But that probably means a lot more work for him. And so he's been kind of, a little bit injured. It's going to be important for him. And that's an important pick to make sure that, since that was their first pick that they
Yeah.
made in this new regime as well.
Yeah, the offensive line, you want to start. It's almost like you obviously it's a group of five. That's your ultimate goal. You got all these guys. You want to start figuring out who's my ones now, and then who is on the block to be replaced, because they want to improve this line. And the thing about an offensive line, you can do it through making a big bang trade, or you bide your time. And usually, when you're going on the waiver wire, you're finding twos and threes. You're not fine, or you get to next year's draft and you make another splash where maybe you did it first round this time, you do it second round next time, but you start getting those high end guys, and that's a unit that is put together over time. That's not, well, we got these 5 guys, or right now like only 13, 14 guys on the roster, and we'll just make this work. No, this is a unit that takes time. Yeah. That's why, and it'll be a little bit of experimentation, as you mentioned. There'll be guys doing right tackle, left tackle, guards, interior. You'll have maybe a swap at center. They're trying to find that formula and who's going to stick around here. And there's going to be a lot of trial and error, bro. And it's going to look ugly from time to time, until you get that unit where those 5/6 guys, because you always have a guy that's a rover kind of, and you get that consistency, and that's over time. That's over years. That's not over a camp and one season. That's, you're talking about that. The offensive line is like trying to grow a plant from scratch. You take the seed, you put it down in the ground, you start watering, you see the little flowers and stuff. And this thing, you got to nurture it, bro. When it's hot, 118 out there, you can't. It's not, well, they said it's monsoon season, so it's supposed to rain. So we're just, you suck it up, and how water bill gonna be high, but you make sure you water that. That's what the offensive line is. You eventually get to the point where this looks pretty, but that takes a lot of time. That's not something that just happens.
Okay, so final thing. What is your expectation for this game against this final preseason game against the Minnesota Vikings? I mean, do you expect to see? We thought that maybe that game 2 would have been the dress rehearsal. Game 3, is it just going to be? You just don't know, especially with new coaches and what their philosophy is. Any expectations at all for this third game?
And nothing. No, they might come out. Maybe they play a couple of starters real quick and get them out. But who are our starters, Jay? We're not. This is not a good team. So this is going to be, they go out and they play well in this game, because who they playing, Minnesota ain't rolling nobody out there. So they go up there and oh my God, they look great. Man, week 1 is getting ready to start. We're getting ready to see what this team really is going to look like. Man. So it's not going to be pretty. So this game is. I will look at it, but I'm not paying attention to anything. I just want to see, a few plays who's out there. Let's get it done. Let's see who gets, when August 29th comes, let's make these cuts. Let's see what the final roster looks like. But this game, I'm not taking anything away from it. Nothing.
All right. He is Ed Smith. My name is Javon Adams. We do this until once the regular season hits, we'll be hit you twice a week in the beginning and in the end of the week. But yeah, so we'll see you next week for sure and kind of recap what's going on with that final preseason game being done, because they're playing that on a Saturday. So it's going to be interesting to see that. It's going to be early Arizona time anyway, 10 a.m. Arizona time. So yeah. And so that way you get in and get out, do all that good stuff. But and then maybe next week we'll have Ed share his the cut story where very interesting cut story. But so tell a friend about what we're doing here at Bleav in the Arizona Cardinals. Again, that's BLEAV in the Arizona Cardinals. And as we always like to say around this time, you can